Quick question, and I want you to really think about this before you answer. You brush twice a day, you floss, you cut out soda, you spend money on whitening toothpaste, mouthwash, the whole routine, and still your dentist gives you that look, that disappointed look, and they say, you have another cavity. Meanwhile, your sibling eats candy for breakfast, hasn't been to a dentist in 2 years, and has 0 cavities. Sound familiar? You're not imagining it. You're not doing anything wrong. The answer isn't in your bathroom cabinet, it's in your biology. Today, we are going deep into the science that nobody talks about, how your DNA, the code written into every single cell of your body, is quietly controlling the health, shape, color, and strength of your teeth. From the moment you're born, actually, even before you're born, your genes are already making decisions about your smile. And trust me, some of what I'm about to tell you is going to completely change how you think about dental health. So stay with me, because this one's a game changer. Let's start with the big picture. For a long time, dentists and researchers believed that oral health was almost entirely about behavior, diet, hygiene, how often you visited the dentist. But over the last decade, and especially in the last few years, the science has shifted dramatically. A landmark study published in the journal Nature Communications found that up to 60% of your risk for tooth decay is genetically inherited. Let that sink in. More than half. Not from your toothbrush, from your parents. And researchers at the NIH, the National Institutes of Health, have now identified over 300 genetic variants that influence different aspects of dental health. Everything from the hardness of your enamel, to the composition of your saliva, to how your immune system fights bacteria in your mouth. This doesn't mean hygiene doesn't matter. It absolutely does. But it means we've been missing a huge part of the equation. And today, we're filling in that gap. Segment 2. Your enamel is coded in your DNA. The armor that was built before you were born. Let's talk about enamel first, because this is where most people's dental problems begin. Enamel is the hardest substance in the human body, harder than bone. It's the outermost layer protecting your teeth from everything: acid, bacteria, temperature, pressure. Once it's gone, it doesn't come back. Your body cannot regenerate it. That's it. Now here's what's wild. The enamel on your teeth was fully formed before you even had your first birthday. In many cases, the process started while you were still in the womb. And the thickness, the mineral density, the actual quality of that enamel, that's largely determined by your genetics. Researchers have pinpointed specific genes like AMELX, ENAM, and MMP20 that control how enamel develops. Mutations or variations in these genes can result in a condition called amelogenesis imperfecta, where enamel forms incorrectly or doesn't fully mineralize. People with this condition aren't getting more cavities because they're lazy about brushing. Their enamel is structurally compromised at the genetic level. It's thinner, weaker, more porous, and bacteria don't need much of an invitation. Even without a full mutation, smaller genetic variations in these same genes can give some people noticeably weaker enamel than average, making them biologically more vulnerable to decay. This is why two people with identical oral hygiene habits can have completely different dental outcomes. Segment 3. Your saliva, the unsung hero. Your genes control. It's not just spit, it's your mouth's defense system. Okay, I know, saliva isn't exactly a glamorous topic, but stick with me, because this might be the most underrated factor in dental health that almost nobody talks about. Saliva does so much more than keep your mouth moist. It neutralizes acid. It remineralizes early-stage tooth damage. It carries antimicrobial proteins that literally fight bacteria. It's your mouth's built-in repair and defense system running 24/7. And guess what controls the quality and composition of your saliva? You guessed it, your genes. Research from the University of Pittsburgh School of Dental Medicine found that genetic variations affect how much saliva you produce, how thick or thin it is, and how much antimicrobial protein activity it contains. People with genetically lower saliva flow or reduced antimicrobial activity in their saliva are significantly more susceptible to cavities, regardless of how well they brush. There's also a gene called DEFB1, which codes for a protein called beta-defensin, an antimicrobial compound found in saliva. Certain variants of this gene are strongly associated with higher rates of early childhood cavities. So if you grew up getting cavities constantly as a kid despite brushing, and your parents couldn't figure out why, it may very well have been your saliva's genetic composition working against you. Segment 4. The bacteria factor. Your gut and your genes. Why some people's mouths are a bacteria battleground. Here's where it gets really fascinating and a little bit mind-blowing. Your mouth contains somewhere between 500 and 700 different species of bacteria. That's your oral microbiome. Some of these bacteria are protective, some are destructive, and the balance between them? Partly determined by your immune system genetics. The main villain in tooth decay is a bacteria called Streptococcus mutans. This is the bacteria that converts sugar into acid, which then eats away at your enamel. Now, everyone has some amount of S mutans in their mouth, but some people's immune systems are genetically better equipped to keep its population in check. Studies have shown that genes regulating interleukin responses, which are essentially your immune system's messaging chemicals, affect how aggressively your body responds to harmful oral bacteria. People with certain immune gene variants have a weaker inflammatory response in the gums and soft tissue, which actually makes them more susceptible to periodontal disease, even if they're brushing and flossing properly. And here's the kicker. New research from 2024 published in Cell, Host, and Microbe suggests that we may actually inherit certain oral bacteria from our parents, especially from our mothers in early childhood. So the microbial community in your mouth has both a genetic and an inherited bacterial component. You literally might have gotten your cavity-causing bacteria as a baby. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to explain why oral health runs in families far more than anyone previously understood. Segment 5. Tooth shape, size, and crowding. Why your jaw might be working against you. Let's shift gears and talk about something you can actually see, the physical structure of your teeth and jaw. The shape of your jaw, the size of your teeth, how they're spaced, all of this is largely genetically determined. And here's why this matters for health, not just aesthetics. Crowded teeth are harder to clean. When teeth overlap or sit too close together, your toothbrush can't reach every surface. Floss becomes difficult to use properly. Food and bacteria accumulate in spaces that are almost impossible to clean without professional tools. Crowding itself is a genetic trait determined by the ratio of jaw size to tooth size, which are two separate traits, often inherited independently from each parent. This is actually why so many people in modern populations need orthodontic treatment. We've inherited small jaws from one side and large teeth from another. Beyond crowding, the shape of your molars, specifically how deep the grooves and pits are, is genetic, and deeper grooves are harder to keep clean and more prone to decay. Certain populations also have a genetic predisposition to hyperdontia, extra teeth, or hypodontia, missing teeth, which both create structural and hygiene challenges. None of this means you're doomed, but it means your orthodontist and your dentist need to understand these genetic structural factors, not just treat the symptoms. Segment 6. Tooth color and sensitivity. Genetics plays a role too. That whitening toothpaste isn't the whole story. Let's talk about two things that a lot of people are self-conscious about: tooth color and sensitivity. Because yes, genetics is involved here too. The natural color of your teeth is largely determined by the thickness and translucency of your enamel, and the underlying shade of the dentin beneath it. Both of these are genetically influenced. Some people are born with naturally wider, more opaque enamel. Others have thinner enamel that allows more of the yellowish dentin to show through, making teeth appear more yellow even when perfectly clean. This is why some people spend a fortune on whitening treatments and never get the bright white results they want. Their baseline genetic color is simply darker. As for tooth sensitivity, that sharp pain when you eat ice cream or drink hot coffee, genetics play a role there as well. The width and density of microscopic channels in your dentin, called dentinal tubules, vary from person to person, and those with wider tubules experience more sensitivity because external stimuli reach the nerve more easily. Genetic variations also affect how your nerve endings inside the tooth respond to temperature and pressure. So, if sensitivity runs in your family, there's a good genetic reason for it. Segment 7. The future. Genetic testing for dental health. What's coming and what you can do right now. Okay, so here's where we get into the really exciting, cutting-edge stuff. Because this is no longer just theoretical science. This is becoming real, accessible healthcare. Genetic testing for dental risk is an emerging field that's starting to gain serious traction. Companies and research institutions are now developing genetic panels specifically for oral health. Tests that can tell you whether you carry variants that predispose you to enamel weakness, gum disease susceptibility, cavity risk, and more. The University of Pittsburgh's Department of Dental Public Health has been at the forefront of research connecting specific SNPs, that's single nucleotide polymorphisms, basically single-letter differences in your DNA, to cavity risk scores. In a future that's closer than you think, your dentist won't just ask you about your diet and brushing habits. They'll have access to your genetic profile and use it to build a personalized prevention plan. Higher enamel risk, more frequent fluoride treatments. Elevated gum disease susceptibility, more aggressive antimicrobial therapy. Lower saliva production markers, specific hydration and diet protocols. This is called precision dentistry, and it's coming. But you don't have to wait for the future to act smarter right now. Here's what the science says you can do today. First, if cavities or gum disease run heavily in your family, tell your dentist. This is clinically relevant information that should shape how often you come in and what preventative treatments you receive. Second, consider getting a general genetic health screening through services like 23andMe or Ancestry DNA that include health reports. Some dental-relevant markers are included. Third, ask your dentist about sealants, prescription-strength fluoride, and antimicrobial rinses. These tools exist specifically to compensate for structural or biological vulnerabilities that brushing alone can't fix. Fourth, if you have kids, don't wait for problems to show up. Early intervention based on family history can prevent decades of dental issues. Segment 8. Audience engagement and community moment. Let's talk about you. Now, I want to pause here and actually talk to you for a second. Because this channel isn't just about information, it's about a community of people who want to understand their bodies at a deeper level and make smarter choices. So I have a question for you, and I genuinely want you to answer this in the comments. Do you have a family history of dental problems? Cavities that run in the family? Gum disease? Teeth that came in crowded? Sensitivity issues? Whatever it is. And have you ever wondered if it was genetic or lifestyle? Drop it below. I read every single comment, and if enough of you are dealing with a specific genetic dental condition, I'll do an entire video dedicated to it. Also, if this video gave you a new way of thinking about your dental health, share it with someone who's frustrated with their teeth despite doing everything right. This information could genuinely change how they approach their health. So, let's bring it all together. Your teeth are not just a product of your habits, they are a product of your history, your genetic history. Your enamel quality, your saliva composition, your immune response to bacteria, your jaw structure, your sensitivity levels, even your natural tooth color, all of these have a significant genetic component that science is only now beginning to fully understand. This doesn't remove personal responsibility. Brushing, flossing, diet, regular dental visits, these still matter enormously, but they matter alongside your biology, not instead of it. And the more you understand your genetic starting point, the better equipped you are to make choices that actually work for your body, not just for the average person. Knowledge is the most powerful tool in healthcare, and now you have a little more of it. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of those teeth.